Today, I'm talking to you about 8 critical things you need to know as a wedding photographer, or even if you want to start out right now in this genre of photography. I have been a wedding photographer for close to a decade now, and I have been in numerous weddings, working with every level of photographer possible. Let's get started with number 1. Charge something. Now, I don't mind if it's 50,000 Kenya shillings or 60,000 Kenya shillings. Just charge your client something. Now, people don't appreciate things that they don't pay for. You are new to weddings, and I get it. So you can't really charge those high prices, which we call premium prices. But you still charge something to make that time valuable, because when you don't put some value or just any value onto your time, your clients are gonna take advantage of you left and right, and you will really hate this career even before you started. Number 2 is that you need to know what your clients actually values and what their values are. Imagine you're at a wedding and there are potentially hundreds of things that are happening at once. So if you are in your career, you probably are just yourself or with just a second shooter, and you can only point your lens at one or maybe 2 things at a time. So you need to make sure that what you're capturing is actually what the client values. So in one of the courses that I have bought by SLR Launch, I learned about this physiological visualization exercise for your clients so that you can consistently understand exactly what your client value is, and they call it the wave. So it teaches you how to sit down with your client and to discuss their wedding. And I prefer doing this in person, and during this time, stop asking them about their wedding plans, about their timelines, about those little details. Save all the details for later. This time instead, I want you to ask them open-ended questions to get stories about the things that they actually value. For example, what are you looking forward to most in your wedding? When you ask those kind of questions, sit down and pay close attention to how they describe and answer those questions. This is how you will tell what they actually value. Number 3 is prioritize your client values above everything else. And I know that you want to get creative shots, which you want them to be on your portfolio. But yes, are these shots what are important for the clients? These creative shots can wait until you've covered the most important must-haves. Oftentimes, there may be a crazy guest on the dance floor, a well-dressed guest in the reception, and it's amazing. It's photography worthy. So a photographer will take almost 50 shots at that one person because it's interesting. Then when they deliver the images to the client asks something like, "Hey, but I did not see any shot of my grandma or my dad or my stepsister. She was actually right next to the dance floor. And I know you got those 50 shots of that interesting person, but I did not see my grandma. And I'm sure you have those pictures in your gallery. So please, can I get them?" Right? You took them. And to your surprise, looking at your catalog, you have no picture of grandma or dad or stepmom. And let me tell you the truth, your trouble just started there. It's just too easy for photographers to focus on what is visually interesting because it's captivating and it's right there in front of you, instead of what is really the client's need and value. So prioritize on what is a value above everything else. It's so important that you understand their values. Now, the next one is shoot it anyway. So if you don't know whether you should shoot it or not, shoot it. Maybe it's food, maybe it's random things in the wedding details. You don't know whether the clients want them, so just shoot it anyway. It will cost you nothing and virtually nothing to catch that extra image, but it's gonna cost you a whole lot of trouble if you miss photos that the clients really expected to see in their gallery. Next is that you need to take control and direct. Now, I want you to take control and to be the director. A lot of photographers are uncertain and timid, especially early in their careers. They are afraid of weddings, to approach people, to ask them if they need or if they want to be in photographs. They even have a hard time standing in front of a group and directing that group to pose. Understand this. As creatives, most of us are gonna be naturally introverted, but when you have that camera in your hand, that literally becomes your passport. You are being paid to take photos and to direct people in a kind of way that you get the best images. It's what gives you permission to be that extroverted version of yourself, and when you put it down at the end of the night, you can relax and go back to who you are, an introvert. But during the wedding day, it's time to go and take those pictures and you need to direct people to get that image that the client would really want. Number 6, I want you to shoot raw, and I don't mind which camera you're using. Just make sure that camera you're using has backup features and it is turned on while you are using it. Now, raw shooting will offer you more flexibility in post-production, and what this means is that if you mess up on an important shot, which believe me, it will happen at some point, then at least you will have a good chance of being able to recover it in post. So if you're shooting a once-in-a-lifetime event, you need a camera backup to save you from all the possible what if that could potentially happen. So if you can just make sure that it has dual capture so that it backs up double every time you shoot, it will be a great way to do that. The other thing is, another tip is that you just need to separate your cards. Let some cards go with the lead shooter, the other the second shooter, to have different copies. And before you format those cards, make sure that you confirm that they have been copied and backed up again. That's the only time you're able to format your card. And the next one is storytelling, which we call the WMT framework. That is, think wide, medium, and tight. Now, see, if it's your first wedding or even early in your career, storytelling can be a hard thing to do, especially when you are in a wedding with so many things. And being a creative in that kind of high pressure, then sometimes it struggles for you to create that story. Now, for now, just think wide, medium, and tight. What this means is that in order to properly tell a story within an album or wall art or even a photo book spread, so we need a variety of images, and especially you need to have that wide image, that kind of establishment shot that shows the overall scene of your story. Then you need a medium shot that shows what is involved in the story, and then you need a close-up to show details of and the emotions and some of the important things that are details in that story. So use that framework, the wide, medium, and tight, to tell very compelling stories. Next is you need to have a short list. Now let me just say this, family portraits are also the #1 area for clients' complaints, and it also comes down to really two things. Either you didn't get a certain portrait or you didn't get a certain portrait combination that they were expecting. Maybe you did the entire bride side of the family, but they also wanted to pose with just the girls and a shot with just the boys, and you missed those shots. So most certainly you should at least have a short list of the family portraits. You should also ask your client what photos they want to have along with their combinations. Let the client know that it takes around 2 to 3 minutes at least per combination, so that they don't go crazy with the list. Then make sure when you see the timelines that the timelines permits whatever needed to capture those portraits. And finally, which is the most important, is hire an experienced second shooter and an experienced wedding photographer. And I know that you probably only have 40,000 shillings, maybe 50,000 shillings for these first weddings in your career, but hiring an experienced second shooter is probably gonna cost you at least 15,000 shillings or 20,000 shillings, and this could be maybe your entire 30 to 50% of your revenue. So why do I tell you to do this? You are going to treat these early weddings like basically live educational events. So that person, because of his experience or her experience, will have shot weddings at least as a lead photographer or a second photographer, and many weddings. And so his level of skill is way higher than yours, and this is time for you to learn. Most importantly, because of his skill, he will level up your quality of work, which your clients are going to love. Trust me. But on top of that, you get to ask them to watch. You get to ask them questions and watch them as they do their work. If you got a question on the dance floor and how they light it, ask them. If you want to understand how they got a particular shot, ask them. In addition, you could have all the images that they have created into your catalog, and you can then study them after the shoot, so that you can be able to have the right experience for the next shoot. So if you do not need the money right now, this step can actually amplify the trajectory of a career by almost 5 to 10 times. A year from now, you'll be so much further ahead because you have had the time to learn from more experienced photographers. And those are the 8 tips on how you can start as a wedding photographer, things that I could do right now if I started again. And so for you to learn more, make sure that you comment on the section below. What else do you want to learn about wedding photography? And also to announce that if you want to become a great photographer, your skill matters. And so we introduce you to our Pro Photography Beginners course, which is live right now for a very good price. So use the link in the description below to access the course, and see you later.